Edie.
Okay, Edie.
My question is regarding Kendall Walker. She mentioned that it's from BPD. Now, I'm assuming that means Berkeley.
Vacaville. Vacaville.
V, oh, V. Okay, because in Berkeley, we have a coalition of groups that includes the two commissions, the Police Review Commission and the NAACP, and we have done everything we can to control the police, so that's my point. Not that all of these other ones are not important, but I was ready to get on the city council if it was Berkeley.
Yeah, I've had the house guest for the past week. I just got him on the plane today.
Stand up.
And he's from Australia, 18-year-old from Australia. And he'd been reading these accounts of police-involved shootings in the news in Australia and all over the news here. He was very mystified by it. And he said, don't these guys ever get psych exams?
Yes.
Which is a fair question. If they do get psych exams, what's done with that information?
They get promoted.
Hold on. All right,
If you're in the Klan, you get extra hiring points.
All right, next speaker, ready now.
I greet all the people who have come regarding your families, your friends, so on. I'm 80 years old, and I have never liked the police, but I grew up a communist, and I knew that they were out to get us. I read the stories about the black children in the South, 15 years old, put in jail because they looked, they were accused of action against them. I never liked the police. It's very nice of you people who did say, I don't have anything against the police, or you people who are stuck with having people have to get a job with the police because there aren't jobs around. Anyway, I greet you, and you can tell I feel concerned. It's often said of the people that get murdered by the police that, well, they were bad anyway, And it doesn't make any difference. They don't get executed on the streets in a reasonable situation. This is not what it's about. They don't get tried on the streets. They bear it. The cause of the problem. Do you know the cause of why there is opposition between the mass of people and the ruling class? Do you know what the cause is? It's profit. It's profit. It does every imbalance in people's lives and minds. It makes people crazy. Profit and competition is called capitalism. This is a ruinous arrangement. We want to live friendly lives where we are about helping each other, making everybody able to live comfortably, and everything stands against that. And of course, it seems as though it's getting worse, but it's been terrible for millennia, and that's what we're being told and agreeing with, that we want to unite over. Thank you.
Every 3 questions will have responses, okay? So raise your hands, I'll try to get the next batch. And I got 4 now, okay.
All right, just to speak to though Tom Lacey's point about the psych tests. Not only are they not psych tests, but as you may know, a lot of cops that kind of really get into it, and it's just for their own aggrandizement. People like to lift weights and go to the gym and stuff. So you find steroid use among officers. Now you want to know something, steroids affect one's temperament. So there really is every reason to drug test somebody after an incident like this. They do not do that. Why not? The Patrolmen's Benevolent Association is not a union, but it is an organization that defends the interests of the police, and the Fraternal Order of the Police is almost like a political party. These organizations hold a disproportionate amount of influence in our society, and they are the ones that are primarily behind this, the Bill of Rights, etc. We need to start paying attention to what they say and advocate. because it is usually against the interests of the American population. Thank you.
This gentleman, I think it's Millie, who just raise your hands the last bit. You and Millie, would you also know?
I had my hand up, I heard somebody call me.
This gentleman here, please.
I myself, I'd just like to ask a very curious question, a very small question. Our animosities and disregard, our hatred for one another or each other. Even if there are police, I'm listening to the young lady talk about how her son was killed by the police. And definitely my sympathies and condolences. And, you know, I mean, I feel heartfelt, you know, because I lost a niece that was killed up in Vallejo. We were talking about that. But where do you draw the line? You know, I mean, you sympathize with this mother and the loss of her son by the hands of these guys. But yet, on the other hand, just a few days ago, we got a police officer that was killed up here in Haiti. You know, just doing his job. He might not have been a bad guy. We don't know, as far as what I've heard and what I've read. The guy, you know, he helped coach Little League, and he was helping people with karate because he was with the SWAT. So he sounded like an all-around type of good guy. But yet he's doing his job at 3-something in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, walking up to a guy's vehicle, and all of a sudden he happens to lose his whole face and life, you know, just by God, but who knows what's on his mind. So where do we draw the line with the sympathy? Where do we draw the line? I mean, it's really difficult. I like to say, well, you know, the police are all bad, they're all a bunch of no-goods and dirty guys, but that isn't the fact. A lot of these brothers are like this young man that shot this guy. I did 25 years in the joint, and I know what it's like. I know the type of people that get there. They're the same ones that we look and we call brother, friend, nephews, uncles, sons, and daughters, whoever else. But those are the same people we got locked up in these penitentiaries that we think that are all good and all sweet and all nice. But a lot of times, a lot of those guys back there actually needed to be there.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line with your sympathies?
All right.
We should all like that.
All right, look, first of all, brothers and sisters, serious question, serious question. So we have to just take it on. There's no way, we're not going to run from it. Capitalism, the economic system and social system under which we live, generates crime. All right? It does. How so? Well, one, there's always unemployment under capitalism, which leads people to break the law. But then there's other things. In this country specifically, we have a cultural problem. That's what I was talking about when I was comparing Germany to the United States, stuff like that. So we have that problem on top of the fact that this is a capitalist nation. But to answer your question more specifically, where do we draw the line? Well, I like the human decency myself. So understand this. The Oscar Grant Committee, we do not see police assassination as an answer to police brutality. All right? So understand this. There are irresponsible people who get to, what's the word? Well, I'll tell you right now, rejoicing whenever you get this pot shot thing where cops get shot. That is not our program, and I'm going to tell you why, though. It's not because we love the police either, but because it's not an answer to the problem. When you shoot a single policeman, we don't know who's going to fill that spot. Okay? But for sure, it is not going to make things better for anybody. It tends to make the police more paranoid. So, for instance, out here, there was a case of Mr. Mixon. I spoke in a film. There's a film about this that I participated in. When Mixon was shot, Lavelle Mixon was shot, right, by the police. Here's how it started. He's going down the street, he is on parole. He had made a vow to himself he's not going back to jail. So the two cops had stopped him right away. He just opened up on him. Bam, bam, 2 cops dead. Now, he then went to the apartment in which his sister lived and hid in that apartment. At that point, a cop named Gonzalez, who has indeed been promoted, puts together a ramshackle group of cops, and they go, you know, they shot Joe, they shot Joe. Emotionalism. They run into the building, bam, bam, 2 more cops dead. And Gonzalez himself was shot. What should have occurred? Well, at that moment, they didn't admit it. But actually 6 months later, they had to criticize what they did because there's a procedure, a disciplined procedure for law enforcement officers when you have that kind of crisis. Number 1, are there any hostages? That's the first question. Then you surround the building, he ain't going nowhere. All right, you got all the time in the world. Step 1, talk him down. See if you can get him to leave. You want the microphone?
Yeah,
Well,
somebody
we want to
else.
get, we want to answer 3 or 4 questions.
Let's finish.
I'm trying to answer the brother's
It's
question
okay.
thoroughly.
Quiet, Norma, I can handle it.
It's okay.
Norma, I can handle it.
Good, somebody else.
Finish your sentence, and then we gotta get more
Well,
questions.
yeah, we'll get more questions, but that's the question. Police assassination is not our program. Neville Nixon became a bit of a folk hero. And when the police found out that people were applauding the death of these cops, this made them even more paranoid. Now, I'd like to get on about the significance of that, but apparently my time is up. Thank you so much.
Okay, Billy and the gentleman next.
But given the last couple speakers, I thought I'd mention this. I have a brother-in-law who's a cop, and I think he's a fundamentally decent guy. I like him. I've even gone to the range shooting with him a few times. I rode a motorcycle with him from his place to police officer rodeo, and where police officers on motorcycles were doing their, course through the cones and all that. And by the way, if you ever see a cop behind you, do not try to run from them because they're better than you. But they will catch you. And but beyond that, he doesn't get it, and a lot of other people don't get it because, well, I'm not racist. None of the cops I know are racist. We're all, none of us have it. That's probably true. And it doesn't matter because it's not about the individual cop. I think it's true that 80-90% of cops have not a racist bone in their body. They just want to do right by everybody. It doesn't matter. It's structural racism.
Right.
It's the system that's racist. It has been from the beginning. The origin of the police in America comes from the slave patrols. That's its DNA. That's where it comes from, and it doesn't matter who you hire and what their mindset is, it's geared towards that. So what do we do about it? Okay, we need somebody to protect public safety. Okay, we need somebody to protect folks from people who want to rob us and beat us up and do us harm, who aren't the cops, and there are those people too, as we all know. So what do? We need to, first of all, hold the police accountable if we can, and that means real citizen review boards with subpoena power, with the power to demand and get all the evidence in the situation, and hire and fire and discipline whatever cops they find to be guilty of wrongdoing. And not just kick them from one department to the other, but deprive them of their right to bear arms. Because they give up that right when they commit murder. Now, that's the demand we make of the system now, because that's all that they can do for us. But ultimately, we need to replace the police with the armed force of the working class, all of us together. Everybody takes a shift. Everybody does an evening patrol in their neighborhood, along with their other neighbors, in their own neighborhood, not going somewhere else to patrol other people, but everybody looking out for themselves where they live. And as soon as we can get that going, and that's the hard part, because organizing people to take their share of the load ain't easy. But if we can do that, then we got it covered.
Pass it to Millie, please.